Why not? Time and time again, while playing Dwarf Fortress, the one question keeps coming up. Who even is Armok? Well, hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have at least some idea, or be significantly more confused. Both are possible. There's only one logical place to start this story, and that is Slaves to Armok, God of Blood. Some of you might be unaware of this entirely, but Dwarf Fortress is actually a sequel, or a spin-off, should I say. Slaves to Armok, God of Blood was a fantasy epic created by Bay12 Games and Tarn Adams, which to this day is still readily available on bay12games.com/Armok, where you can download what is there to download of the video game and do your best to play it. Not that I would necessarily recommend that. The website has been completely delisted from the Bay12 Games main website, now promoting mostly Dwarf Fortress, for the purpose of avoiding confusion. Slaves to Armok was not Bay12's first game by any stretch. They'd been making games as long as they could touch a keyboard. But Slaves to Armok was something special. It was the brothers' magnum opus, their attempt to create an endlessly replayable, randomly generated universe that a player could explore and dance around and play in and teleport people's skin off of and remove internal organs and other great things. Even if we look at the list of features, planned features existing on the Slaves to Armok God of Blood website, which still exists that you can still read, randomly generated universe with multiple Earth-sized worlds, maintain the same universe between games and develop a rich history or generate a new one as you see fit. Populate your world with familiar creatures or randomly generated ones, and each world includes a working ecosystem with many thousands of species, skill-based advancement system, and no fixed classes or levels. Each creature has a working body with detailed interconnected body parts and no hit points. A lot of this might sound familiar, especially when you look at the character creation screen. It looks to be even more familiar when you realize that there are familiar creatures. So what was Armok in this particular video game? Well, Armok, God of Blood, is the name and the creator deity in the lore of the original Slaves to Armok, and the in-game explanation for the game's random world generation. The game lists, Armok, God of Blood, is just about the only constant in these chaotic random universes. A general sense of conflict keeps Armok appeased, and when the universe becomes too boring, it is set on the anvil of creation to be reforged. The destruction of the world by Armok will arise inevitably in most game worlds. As civilizations spread, the frontier closes, and the world will start to look homogeneous, and Armok, looking upon his decadence in disgust, he will reform the world. Basically, when the universe has become too boring, it will be changed. But who or what is Armok, the supreme god? And he gives the name to the game, and his powers are literally endless. He creates and destroys whole universes just for pleasure, just for fun, and enjoys watching death and destruction and, of course, blood run on his universe. In a universe, he can have billions of worshippers, and in another, his existence might be unknown, but he exists, and he cannot be denied, and allows to play almost any type of universe, from standard fantasy type world to a primitive Stone Age world, and why not a future world with star travel. In fact, when Armok creates a universe, he likes putting more than one planet in it. Remember, Armok can control and destroy all other creatures, including other lesser gods, but he usually enjoys watching civilizations grow because he hopes one day these civilizations will fight each other and thus generate conflict and slaughter. All of that aside, that is the lore for the original Slaves to Armok. In 2006, when Dwarf Fortress, a small 3-month spin-off project of the original Slaves to Armok, was announced and squarely made playable in 2006, right around the time PayPal launched, conveniently making Tarn Adams enough money that he could seemingly just kind of keep working on this project forever, and then I guess Stockholm syndromed himself into becoming a millionaire by releasing it on Steam with his brother Zach.
So we released the game back in 2006 and just threw up a PayPal button and asked people, if they wanted to help us out, we could keep going. Just $1,000 from random people that month back in August 2006.
Dwarf Fortress was still and still is a spin-off of Slaves to Armok. After feature creep took over and they began just developing the game similarly to how they'd been developing Armok for the last 7 years, Dwarf Fortress surpassed Armok in a matter of months for the number of features that they had. And the title of the game represented this right up until Premium version 50, where the title was changed. But the original title of Dwarf Fortress always will be Slaves to Armok, God of Blood, Chapter 2, Dwarf Fortress. But there's a wrinkle here. Armok doesn't exist in the world of Dwarf Fortress. He doesn't exist anywhere in the world of Dwarf Fortress. But the name keeps coming up, especially amongst forum chatter and player discussion. So what is Armok in Dwarf Fortress? Well, to quote the wiki, despite the above description, Armok is not actually present in Dwarf Fortress. He does not appear as a deity available for worshipping, nor does Toady 1 intend to add him to the game. Not that it stops players from referencing him, especially when something extremely fun is ensuing, as implied by his role of reshaping reality for the sake of his own amusement. Armok is essentially an in-game lore name for the player of the game. So, whenever somebody asks you, who or what is Armok? Well, now you know. You can tell them, Armok is you. If you enjoyed this episode of Wiki Lore and would like to support this channel directly, the easiest ways to do that are by checking out my Patreon or by checking out my streams on Twitch. $2 a month gets your name into these credits, and if you check out the streams on Twitch, I stream Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays very consistently with a whole lot of Dwarf Fortress and other interesting games. If you want to see my VODs from those streams, you can find that over on the Extras channel, and there's a link down in the description. I crammed 2 of these videos out real quick because I think that the format is interesting, but the channel's going to go kind of into more of a normal cadence now. If you have ideas for things you would like me to cover in this series, leave it down in the comments section. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.